The crystal ball provides you with the capability to model the impact of change. Change can occur in any of the 8 real-time CEO levers: price, volume, direct cost, indirect cost, accounts receivable, inventory, accounts payable, or fixed assets. And the crystal ball enables you to quantify the impact of a single variable or multiple variables. Let's have a look at the single variable first of all and look at how we model the impact of change. Within price, we have the ability to look at the impact of a percentage change. Within volume, we also model percentage change. Within our cost areas, and direct and indirect costs provide you with the capability of modeling wages costs and the remainder of costs, and they are modeled in hundreds of thousands. I will come back and talk about the variability element later in the screencast. Indirect costs also provides you with the ability to model your indirect wages separately from the rest of your indirect costs, and they are modeled in hundreds of thousands. Accounts receivable, inventory, and accounts payable are all modeled in days. And finally, fixed assets is modeled in hundreds of thousands. As we enter the change to the variable, the crystal ball will tell us the impact on ROE and cash flow. It will also tell us the impact on profitability, leverage, and a range of other data. We can also use the crystal ball to model multiple variables, and this is where the tool becomes a useful decision validation mechanism using the principles of should we, can we. Should we, can we are 2 questions that should be asked for each key decision that you're making in the business. And to make a good decision, you need a yes to should and a yes to can. The should we is determined by the impact of ROE in the business, and if the ROE increases, you should because you've created more value. The can we is determined by operational cash flow. If the decision generates positive operational cash, you can. If the decision generates negative operational cash, you then have to determine whether you can fund that decision through alternative means such as existing reserves, additional debt, or additional equity. Let's have a look at a multiple variable decision, and let's say that we're considering increasing our prices by 4%, but there is a concern that if we do so we will lose 8% of our volume. So the 2 variables that we are going to model is an increase in price of 4% and a reduction in volume of 8%. And we can see that the combination of these 2 variables will make this demonstration client stronger in terms of the fact that its ROE has increased by 10.7% from 28% to 39%. So there's a yes to should, but it has also generated $310,000 of operational cash, which has gone from 633 to 943. So that is a yes decision. But we can then stress test that decision by saying, well, what if volume reduced by say 12%? It's still a yes decision. What if volume reduced by 15%? At 15%, it becomes a no yes decision. And remember, for a decision to be good for the business, it needs to be yes for both. The last thing that I want to talk about is the concept of variability in the 4 cost areas. And variability only relates to volume changes. So if we apply a volume change to the business, variability is going to have an impact on how the crystal ball models the 4 cost areas. The variabilities are set as a default for direct costs to 90% and as a default to indirect costs at 25%. and you can increase or reduce this variability. But at those defaults, what is currently happening is that if volume increases by 10%, take for example direct cost wages, they will increase by 90% of 10%, or 9%, which takes us from 3,896,000 to 4,247,000. So the variability impacts the increase or reduction of costs when volume changes. There is one level of subtlety in how variability behaves with regard to direct cost other and indirect costs other, and that is that the increase is going to exclude the depreciation element of the costs. We do this because a volume increase will not increase depreciation. The only thing that will increase depreciation is if we add additional fixed assets, and that of course would be done down in the fixed asset area of the crystal ball.